Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon wound pickups.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. We are super happy that you are listening with us to our show.
That's right.
Because we're listening to it too, and we're going to have a good time tonight. The Guitar Knobs podcast. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Guys, what do we do here?
We interview people that do really cool stuff.
Boutique builders, maybe.
Right, Tony?
Boutique builders. Not
Yes.
builders of boutiques where you buy things.
No.
But boutique as in the smaller guys.
Yeah.
The Davies of the world.
And you usually
world of
buy 'em
Goliaths.
online.
Sometimes
right?
a few Goliaths.
Well, we've had
that
a
are
couple
worthy.
of Goliaths that are
Yeah.
nice.
Some
that are
101s that teach you how to do stuff.
That's right.
They had Goliaths with Davy attitudes.
Yes,
That's right.
We do pedals, amps, gear, all kinds of stuff, and especially we love guitars. And we've got somebody very special on the line today who happens to fit that mold. Who are you, sir?
Tim Thelen with BilT Guitars in Des Moines, Iowa.
BilT Guitars with an I. No
BILT.
BILT
Welcome.
Guitars.
Does that stand for anything?
That is a mashup of Bill Hens, who's my co-owner, and the T is for me, Tim
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
Thelen.
Built.
That's good to know.
exactly.
And that way we know you just can't spell.
That's right. So, hey,
brevity.
everybody out there, if you want to follow along with our show, you can check out BilT, BILT Guitars. And if you want to go check out the website, you can do that. But the easy, fun way to do it is usually on Instagram.
Yes.
Tim and company make some mighty fine guitars, and I've been hoping we could get these guys on the show, and Tony is
I
a
love
big
them.
fan, and
Big
Jared's
fan.
a fan, so this has been great. We're really excited to have you on the show today, Tim.
Good. So this isn't going to go like really dark, really quick.
I hope not.
Well, it could.
Yeah.
So serial number.
Yeah, you never know.
I noticed.
So, all right, we're going to get through a couple of announcements really quick, everybody. First and foremost, we want to give a massive shout out to Rode Microphones for providing our audio equipment. We've got the fantastic Rodecaster Pro and the Procaster microphones, which have served us well for a couple years now. And we give a huge amount of thanks to the dual Nicks.
Nick and Nick.
Nick and Nick down at
Hey, but what about
down at
this
Rode.
box that's sitting here on
I
the
said
table?
that.
It's a Rodecaster.
Oh, that's the Rodecaster.
That's the Rodecaster.
Oh.
That's the big mama machine.
It's a pro, man.
That's our
Wow. It's our
love machine.
It's
It's
our,
Got
it's
funny
our
sound
heart and
effects
soul.
on it, too, that we're not allowed to touch.
That's right. You are not allowed to touch them.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to record our show on this, and you might want to give that a thought if you are interested in diving into the podcast world, or even, like I said before, I think this would do a bang up job of recording your little old band if you got one, or just your home guitar. By yourself. You don't need a band. You just need you.
Or banjo.
Or a band Joe. All right. And then we also want to let everybody know Big J-Rod's got some sweet new shirts.
Well, I do.
You do.
And I would like to thank my friends Tony Baloney and Todd Novak for helping me design it.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of the credit goes to Todd.
Let's
because he
give it
found-
all to Todd.
Okay.
I'll take it.
That just he needs stroked every once in a while.
All he had to do was convince me, like, yes, this is it. Yes, this is it. It took me a while, but
Yeah.
with a few tweaks here and there, it's perfect.
Yes. The understatement of the year is all I had to do.
That's right.
They're really cool.
Yes.
Check them out. We're going to put a post there. There should
Yeah,
be already.
they're-
By the time you hear this, you will have seen this on the Instagram. So
Yeah.
They're cool shirts. They've got the Brandon Wound logo and a ginormous
I like it.
humbucker.
yes, sir.
Humbucker.
All right. We also want to let everybody know that I received something very special in the mail from Champion Lecky. We're working on a contest right now that we're putting together, and we decided it would be a great idea to do a coloring contest. So hopefully
I
you
love that
guys
idea.
are all familiar with Champion Lecky and the super happy fun pedals that he makes. And the great designs. They're all handmade. They're all hand painted. They're all hand designed. And so what we're doing is we've got a coloring sheet, and so we're gonna more on that. But the gist is, you do the coloring sheet, you take a picture, you post on Instagram, you can win a pedal.
Or you can risk and have your kids do it for you. But you know, you're putting the pedal in their hands, basically, winning it.
Do you have to give the pedal to the kids if they do it?
You could save it for when they get older.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I just want to point out that Jared has his hat over his headphones, which is interesting.
I got a size 8 hat, man. It's big. I got a big melon.
And then, so more to come on that. We'll be talking. He's going to come on the show. We're going to talk all about it. It'll be great. And you can win great pedals and stuff. And Wooly from Champion Lucky is an awesome dude who makes some awesome pedals. And
Dude, I
we're
love
great that he's
guy.
our friend.
I love him.
I also wanted to give just a real quick sort of high five to the guitar podcast community out there in the internet world. Tone Mob, 60 Cycle Hum, Guitar Nerds, Flippin' Flippers, Tone Jerks, Clifton Worley even, who we were recently on the show. It's a happy, good time group, and we all love the same stuff, and we're out there doing it, and it's fun to see everybody interacting with each other, and I guarantee you that you will be happy if you listen to any of those other shows, which I'm sure you probably already are. We love the guitar community, and we are doing our best to make great stuff for everybody out there. So big high five and big hearts and lightning bolts to those chaps.
And watch out for orangutans on tricycles chasing small children.
Okay, sure, Tony. All right. Oh, gosh. Hey, everybody. Let's find out what's new in our guitar world this week.
Yes.
Let's hear from Tim. He's been real patient. Tim, what's going on in your music world this week, man?
Just sent out a guitar to Ruben Nielsen from Unknown Mortal Orchestra, and so hopefully, I don't know if he'll be able to get it unveiled for Bonnaroo this weekend, but that was exciting, and because we're great big fans here at the shop of his stuff and his guitar playing, so that is always fun to get that kind of stuff out.
What did you send him?
We got him a Zaftig,
Okay.
which is our hollow body, or not hollow body, but very chambered guitar. Is kind of a mashup of a Starcaster and Jazzmaster, kind of a bigger bodied thing. And we got him one of those in Olympic white in our low gloss nitro finish, baked maple neck, rosewood figured board. Pretty nice little unit. The big thing was weight for him, and so we actually made the body out of Western red cedar. So we took a guitar design that's already pretty light and made it even lighter. So he is a big guy on jag stangs, and he tends to play with the strap over his right shoulder as opposed to his left. So because I think he does a lot of multi-instrumental stuff. So
that's kind of a really
an
old style of playing. If you go back and look at a lot of pictures, a lot of guys have their strap just over one shoulder, not across the back.
Yeah, and that scares me. But he seemed to pull it off effortlessly. So that was exciting. And then just a lot of finish work. I do a lot of emailing, so that's fascinating, I'm sure. But yeah, no. And then what else? We're gearing up to do, we're going to start doing a lot more demo videos. We're going to try to do a video, of every guitar that we make. So I think that'll, just a little short guy and start, just completely taking over YouTube entirely.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
So how many hours a day would you say you do emails? I'm kind of curious as a small business owner myself.
Some days it's like it's only like 13 or 14 hours, and other days it's more. No, I really try. Time management is a big issue around here because we're a small company, so there's not a lot of personnel to be able to handle that stuff. So it's kind of a lot of, I'm glad I get emails on the phone sometimes, because then I can just run up and deal with something right away. But most of the time it's 2 or 3 hours a day trying to get lined up with customers and get quotes out and get vendor things put together. And, we do anything for everybody. So, there's a lot of research and chasing down of individual parts or types of finish or, color schemes and, all kinds of stuff. So we're internet people.
Yeah, with Pick Guardian, I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is hop on the computer and do probably about 2 or 3 hours worth of emails.
Catch up.
Yes, yeah, catch up from the day before or whatever, and head down to the shop. And it's just it's like I never realized, I guess early on, how much time is spent keeping. Basically, customers have questions. They want answers pretty quickly, and they've gotten used to that,
Yeah.
But
and I it still amazes me how much people appreciate a fast response. I probably see that on, everything that we respond to, we try to get after stuff right away. Right. And not let anything linger as much as we possibly can. But, stuff always falls through the cracks. But anyway,
well, the big note is to
I would say a good 75% of our emails are like, wow, thanks for the great fast response.
Yeah. Well, and I think you probably appreciate it too, because you don't have 5 people sitting behind a computer waiting for emails to come in. Like, I think a lot of people get so used to, like the Amazons of the world and all the other places that, they forget that sometimes if it's a 1 or 2 person show, might take a little while longer.
Yeah. So the note is to make sure if you're in contact with all of our boutique builder friends in the world, understand that it's called boutique building for a reason. And it's not a massive company, and be patient, and all the love will flow through the electronics. It's going to be great. Yeah. Tony Baloney, what's up in your music world?
2 things this week. 2 things. One of which you'll probably appreciate. So I have a 64 Melody Maker that I put back together a couple years ago, and I've been looking for a hard shell case for a Melody Maker. And for those who don't know, a Melody Maker is a lot thinner than a Les Paul. The body shape, it'll fit in a Les Paul case, but then it just sits kind of weird in there.
Swims.
It's the same problem with the specials.
With a special or a junior. Exactly
pain
the
in
same.
the butt.
So just on the off chance, I had a lingering search on eBay, just for notifications in case a Joan Jett Melody Maker case ever came up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you got a Joan Jett Melody Maker.
Yeah.
I would have bought that off you.
Yeah, it's not that great of a guitar.
Yeah, but I will like it.
Yeah, okay. You're allowed to.
Right.
Well, anyhow, I got the case, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of a standard case, but it's the right thickness, and then there's just a heart on the outside.
That's cool, a little black heart.
Under the Gibson. So that's kind of cool, and it fits the guitar. That's the most important thing to me.
Interesting. Okay, so if you have a special, that's the case you want to try to get.
Well, TKL also makes a case specifically for specials and juniors.
Really?
That is, I think it's a 1/2 inch thinner.
I have to wad up a towel underneath mine.
The T-shirt always works underneath it too. And then the second thing is I got my, we talked a little while about this, my Les Paul, like 59 Les Paul standard replica came in. And I took it over to my buddy Sean, and he did the final setup.
To be fair, it's not a Chibson.
It's not a no. It is not.
It's far from.
No, it is not a Chibson. It's
far from it.
It's a local builder who does a really good job on Les Pauls.
I was just over at his house a few days ago.
Yeah,
and he's got like 2 or 3 more that he's building.
Yep.
Unbelievably great.
Yeah.
He's really good at those standards.
So, yeah, the standards look great. This one is kind of some people would call it a lemon burst.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I was going to bring it in today, but then I fell behind and all that fun stuff. But anyhow, my buddy Sean has a company called the Guitar Repair Company here in town. And anytime I have a guitar that I really want good fretwork and good setup, I take it over to him, because usually I can work my way through most of that stuff, but I like the way he does things. So I picked that up yesterday, and I'm real happy. Jared's pickups, they're the PAF style pickups, just sound stellar in this guitar.
59 clones.
59 clones. I mean, they just sound, I mean, the middle position is just to die for. And I'm not usually a middle position humbucker guy, but this one just sounds just beautiful.
When our friend builds good guitars, I mean, they're really
Are
good.
you going to let me borrow that and take it home?
Yeah, if you want.
Thanks, man. I'd like to, just for a day or two.
Yeah.
We it's cool because we get to exchange a lot of gear.
He's also been doing like all these awesome telly bodies, and when he's taken this fabric and it's kind of like the Paisley thing.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, the Paisley ones were wallpaper, which coincidentally were also made here by Board and Company in Columbus, Ohio.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yep. So all those 60s Paisley tellies are that way. But what Chris is doing is he gets this really cool cloth. I have one of them. And it's that Japanese tattoo art. And what's really cool about it is he adheres it to the body and then shoots a ton of lacquer over the top of it. But you can still kind of see some of the fall into the cloth.
Interesting.
So it's super shiny, but there's a little bit of a surface level.
It still looks cool.
Yeah.
It definitely looks cool, but...
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Jared.
Oh, yeah, a couple of things, little things, but hey, they all matter. So my buddy finished up my guitars and my Jazz Masters, and of course I had to get some hard cases. So I look, and I don't need special, awesome, cool case. I just want a case to protect the guitar that works.
Right.
And I saw some, I think they're Gator cases. Guitar
That's what
Center.
I have my Jazz Bastard.
Right.
In. Yeah.
And the picture has the leather ends on the case, but when you get it in the mail, it ain't got the leather end on it. And I'm like, come on, man. I thought I was getting the leather ends on the case. But you don't want to take it back because it's just not worth all the hassle in the
Did you call them about that?
I didn't even do that.
You should have done that.
I know it. I know I owe them a gripe session, but they know that people like me aren't going to take the time to do that. So they're just like, well, I got you, and you ain't going to do nothing about it. Enjoy the case.
I disagree. I think if you're dissatisfied with it, and then if the company, was it at Guitar Center or was it?
They don't
just
care.
take it into the store.
They will take care of it. If you're not totally happy with it,
Well,
you should complain about it and at least credit you something. I mean, say, I'd like to keep the cases.
Anyway,
if you want the leather end so bad, I'll trade you my case for Pete's sakes. All right.
I don't know.
Let's see.
I like the leather ends myself.
Yeah,
And
I don't care.
Everybody knows I have the Temple pedal boards.
Yes.
The longtime listeners. When we were in Chicago a few years ago for that show,
Yes.
Todd's like, dude, this dude has 2 Temple boards and they're
$50 each.
so
Full
I'm
size,
like,
the
well,
big size.
I'll just buy one, right? I wish I would have bought both. And they both had the module already hooked up to the board
For the electric.
for the electric thing, the switch. And I was like, oh man, I'll just buy a new one for my new Temple board that I bought that I paid way more for.
Yeah.
Those modules are like $50. I was like, holy crap, that's what I paid for the whole pedal board and the module. And it was like in brand new condition.
Well,
So
Fascinating.
yes.
Yeah, moral
You're
of the
a
story
stellar
is-
shopper.
yeah, what are you gonna do? So the moral of the story is, if you see 2 of something and it's dirt cheap, just get it, man.
You can always sell it.
Just get it.
Solid logic.
I will
There he
next
comes.
time.
He wraps it all up with a nice
Just get
bow.
both of them.
How about you, Todd? What's going on in your musical work?
Other than that awesome shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, I have had quite a bit of fun playing out. We've been doing a lot of shows and stuff, and it's been great, meeting a lot of great people. But one of the things that I got to do today, I got a nice box of pedals from Mythos, and they are twin golden fleeces.
Mjolnir.
And what we're going to do is just a little conversation and test about, what is the difference between these two? Because there is a difference. One is this through hole and one is surface mount. We're going to have an episode coming up where we're just going to talk about...
When you say through hole, are you talking about like point to point?
No.
No.
That's literally all the pieces go through the board and are soldered on the back, where a surface mount is not necessarily that case.
Oh.
Yes, it's a little more complex. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be a great discussion.
Looking forward to talking to Zach again.
It's not the whole episode is going to be about that. We're going to talk about all kinds of things.
We're just going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Through holes.
So that'll be looking forward to that in the near future.
I'm going to switch the knobs.
Don't do that. Yeah, we're not allowed to crack the case open.
Yep.
They're designated by knob style, so we're gonna stay true to the experiment and just listen with our ears and see if there is a difference and see if we like that, and then discuss why maybe or maybe it doesn't matter. So, all right. You know what my favorite thing is?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, Tim from BilT Guitars, why don't you give us your 4 on the floor?
I don't do a whole lot of playing outside of the shop just because, by the time I get home, I don't want to really be thinking about guitars too much. But there are some that I miss dearly. And one of those, probably the first one would be, one of the first pedals that I ever bought after I started playing electric guitar would be back in the early 90s when I bought myself from Musician's Friend. I don't know how I got that catalog. I lived in a small town in Iowa, and I ordered a Shredmaster COD to my house, and so that was one that I should have never let go, because then it came back around in a big way. The Shredmaster was my way of trying to get a metal sound, and it was just kind of this weird series of pedals that Marshall did or released back in the early 90s. And I can still remember reading the copy because I just sat there and read it a million times. But they referenced. I think they actually referenced Megadeth in it, and not that I was a huge Megadeth fan, but I was like, okay, I just am not getting what I want out of the cheap distortion pedal or whatever I had at the time, and so that's one that got pawned off when I went to college, along with all the other good stuff that I ever had.
Right. Okay. And what's number 2?
Number 2 would probably be, the carbon copy. And I would say that I know that pedal inside and out, to the point of whenever they do a version change on the circuit board, I know that, or I recognize it. So, and it, it's an analog delay. They've tweaked the modulation a little bit to make it a little more pitch fun. And so that one's pretty fun. And then number 3 would be the fuzz that we make, which is loosely based off of a bunch of different fuzzes, and one specifically that we, that allows for oscillation, which is kind of the big thing that we put into the Relevator, so that you can play around with that and just, make it wacky.
What was that called?
That's just our BilT fuzz.
Oh, it just says fuzz. Okay.
Yeah, we've been prototyping around it for years, trying to think about, selling it. And it's BilT timing is kind of, it's a known quantity around here because we just have the worst timing when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So we sit on it long enough, and it, the golden era of pedal, stuff goes away, and we would just be lost in the noise of all of the other people putting fuzzes out. So we just kind of sat back on that, but we have a bunch of these prototypes around, and they're awesome, and they're super fun to play with. I would say go ahead.
I was going to say, did you ever put those in the guitars, like the Relevators, or?
Yeah, that's what we put in our guitars, and then we also started plugging them into pedals.
Okay, cool.
And a couple versions we did where those knob covers you can stick on. I think Dunlop made them, and they're designed to go over top of either a Mustang style knob or and it's supposed to give you foot control. We put one of those, but the pot would be on the side of the casing or the enclosure, so that you can manipulate the oscillation with your foot. So that was kind of one of the fun versions of that, and I think super enjoyable. And you can get pretty crunchy stuff with it, and I don't know. That's kind of where I was at that point in time when we were making that.
Number 4.
Number 4 would be I really like the Eau Claire Thunder a lot, and I think it's super duper versatile. So that is just and it's not anything that I would play. Not that I wouldn't play it because I don't play in front of people, but that would be a kind of a desert island one for me.
I'm not totally familiar with that pedal, so can you give me a little
Are you
bit
familiar with Dwarfcraft devices at all?
Yes.
It's one of his, and I think it's kind of a flagship, but Ben is a super funny, hilarious, sweet guy. And, we've been talking for years and years about getting together and doing something with a Relevator. And he has one of the original 8 that we put together that I brought up to him so that we could start like prototyping stuff. And it just makes really good noises.
Who could ask for anything more?
Yeah, right?
That's fine. So we'll leave it up to everybody else to go determine what those noises are themselves.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought that was a lot more popular pedal than...
Well, I'm not saying it's not. I just personally haven't played one. We still need to get him on the show at some point in time. So hopefully he'll hear you. And then
Eau Claire people are weird. I know a lot of people from Eau Claire, and they are each and every one of them is a singular character in and of themselves. So I don't know what it is. I think it might be some sort of contamination in groundwater, or the water coming off the river,
or the milk. Could be from the milk.
Yeah,
or the milk. Could be the milk. They like it raw up there. They poo-poo pasteurization.
Fair enough. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. Those are good pedals. And so if you are not familiar with the 4 on the Floor out there, make sure you check it out. That's on our website. And we also put it out. So we put it out as a blog. There will be links to each of these pedals as well as a transcript from Tim's 4 on the Floor. It's really fun because you can go and see what all your favorite builders chose as their 4 on the Floor. So make sure you go to the site and dig around. And I'm sure you will find some things that you'll be like, wait, what is this pedal? I guarantee that'll happen. I don't guarantee anything, so whatever that means. We're talking to Tim from BilT Guitars. And we're really excited because we've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. So let's get on with this, shall we?
Certainly.
Excellent. So you're located in
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Iowa,
Des Moines.
Right.
The great crossroads of highway or Interstate 35 and 80.
Yeah, I used to have to go through there occasionally on my drives. I lived in Eden Prairie, Minnesota for about 5 years. And
sure.
So, I'm familiar.
You know.
Yeah. So you're all up there. How long have you been building those guitars?
We started with the Relevator back in, we started prototyping it back in 2008. Mm-hmm. And then, and by prototyping, at the time I co-owned a repair shop, and I had a pretty good customer who was really, really into wanting me to put effects into this Telecaster that he had. And I just pushed him off like, I'm not doing that. That's, that'll be ridiculous. But he pushed and pushed and pushed. And so what we ended up doing was, taking this Tele and creating a bunch of extra cavities in it. And we made this huge pick guard that almost covered the entire top. We put a Jazzmaster tremolo in it. And so the pick guard kind of had this Everly Brothers acoustic field. You know what I'm saying? So it came back and wrapped nearly all the way around the tremolo plate. So at that point, he wanted a Red Witch Fuzz God in there, which is a tremendously cool pedal. If you guys aren't familiar with that,
the Red Witch Fuzz God, yes,
yeah. And so I stuck one of those in there, and then a carbon copy delay, which has carried on through this whole time. And then we did the Sustainer pickup. Yeah, Sustainiac. Yeah, it's the Sustainiac, which I've installed so many of those things. Like, they're insane. So this guitar was crazy. And so, he finally talked me into it. I spent a ton of time pulling circuit boards apart, pulling stuff off of circuit boards to reroute controls, and just getting all this stuff figured out. And then you get it together, and then you start the troubleshooting, because nothing works, right? and you start to get it to kind of work. And then you start discovering this phenomenon called cross-talking. And then, so then you figure out which wires. It's like hissing and buzzing and just incredibly unpleasant sounds on like high gain lines, and when they come close to certain other high gain lines, and then they start making noises that you don't want. So then you have to shield them. So then you start discovering like, okay, I can't just use like Gibson wire or, pickup wire on all this stuff because it's, would be ridiculously huge. So then, then it just becomes a whole big research project into finding, higher gauge shielded wires, whether they're insulated, blah, 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 blah. And so it became a big thing. And, once we got it done, we got it really working well. Then it was like, wow, this thing is pretty fun, because it was a bunch of effects that normally you would bend over or crouch down and start manipulating and look silly doing it. Or if you're not a shoegazer, it's fun to have at your fingertips. And so we kind of sat on that. That was like the fall of 2008. And I think the beginning of 2009, I ran across a picture of a Fender Marauder that was currently residing at Dave's Guitar Shop in La Crosse, Wisconsin. If you haven't been there, he's got an amazing collection, and is a big vintage guy, big new sales guy. I think he was one of the few that could do Gibson online, or maybe not. I can't remember, all that drama. But so anyway, he had this Lake Placid Blue Fender Marauder 2, I think it was, and it had this Lake Placid Blue, had a pearloid pick guard, and it had the headstock that, the Gene Fields designed swoosh headstock that we ended up adopting both of those words. So it had that and a bound rosewood board with like pearloid block inlays. And I was just like totally struck by this guitar. And it had all these huge plates on it that were full of switches. And I was like, oh my God, look at all that real estate that we could use for these effects guitars. Like, cause we were talking about like how fun that was and how cool it is and everything. And like, so it immediately jumped out as, okay, this is plausible because they never released that guitar. So it's not going to turn into an immediate lawsuit, because at that point in time, all the big guys were extremely litigious, and had either huge lawsuits going at the time, or had just lost some or won some, or, so all of that stuff was in super flux at the time. And, so I made a little trip up there to check that guitar out, and it was even cooler in person. Like the upper, rhythm circuit, the roller wheels on it, it had imprinted, or embossed numerals on the side of it. And I was just like, oh my God, that is so cool. I had never seen that on any other Fender before.
And those are metal, right?
These were plastic, because they didn't have a knurl. They had a straight line.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
So I think they were. My guess is that this thing was maybe a prototype, or someone put it from the factory, put it together out of parts, and sold it at a show as a prototype. And it had three Jaguar pickups, I do believe, in a Strat formation. And so there's the upper circuit plate. There was a lower plate that had a bunch of like phase switches or whatever. I don't even really know what the wiring scheme on the original Marauders were. And I maybe someday I'd revisit that. And then a large jack plate. So it just provided a tremendous amount of real estate, and I was looking at those plates, and I was like, I know how to work aluminum really well, and I know how to polish it. So I could make those plates out of aluminum, and it would be easy because it'd be highly customizable.
That's exactly how you say
I butchered that. Is that? Thank you. And so I felt like it was really good, and I was, and this is like over my lunch hour, sitting at the counter in my repair shop, and I'm like, and at the time, Bill Hens, who co-founded this with me, him and I was like, Bill, get in here. And so he checked it out. I'm like, what do you think? What do you know, how this would work? And he was like, got super excited. And then I brought this customer in that I had done the telly for, and his name's Brandon, and he thought it was just an amazing idea. So we immediately set out to start prototyping this thing. I make a trip up and check out that guitar. Like it's amazing. And so then kind of the rest is history. We spent a lot of time like with control layout, and originally, we wanted to make everything as user friendly as possible. Originally we were going to, the delay and the fuzz and the we were going to make this germanium fuzz, and it, we had this circuit, we made up this circuit and everything, and then it became real that we couldn't, at that point in time, nobody was either, there's not a lot of new old stock, so it wasn't going to be consistent, so we ended up having to go to silicon and for our transistors, and then we were going to have an individual battery for, and we were going to use a sustainer in it as well. So this thing was going to be wackadoo, as far as like what it was going to be able to do. And we ended up kind of ditching the sustainer just because it was too much stuff. And we've since installed a lot of the sustainers in Relevators that we've built. But at the time, it wasn't really a home run. You kind of got these guitars. There's a very select and small group of people who are number one, brave enough to take something like this on from a playing standpoint. So we just kind of distilled it down and made it, tried to do the layout of the controls as ergonomically and as smartly. Is that a word? Smartly as possible?
Sure. I say smartly all the time.
Okay, good.
Acceptable.
So yeah, we just approached it from, we loved the whole Fender design as far as like, from a repairability standpoint, wanted to make all the components, as high quality as possible. At that point in time, to get into the hardware side of it and the decision we made on that, we had built a Rosewood Jazzmaster for Nels Cline like the year before, and people, the bridge has always been problematic.
In case people don't know who Nels Cline is, can you just give him
And Nels at that time was freshly on the Wilco team, so he's a lead guitar player for Wilco, but like a huge session guy, and I knew him from way back in the 90s, from when he was playing a lot with kind of a legendary, the Minutemen bass player, Mike Watt.
Right.
Who I, kind of started off once I got out of guitar making school, built him a bass, and, so kind of got my feet wet with Mike Watt, and he got me to Nels, and Nels and I, hit it off right away. And I was, so anyway, Nels was a buddy. And Bill had this idea, let's build this Rosewood Jazzmaster. And so we did and delivered it to him. And it wasn't, BilT wasn't a thing at that point in time. It was just something that we wanted to do that was super fun. We went to, it was actually 2008. We went to Lawrence, Kansas to deliver it. And it was an outdoor show, and he loved it, and like got it up on stage and played Impossible Germany with it. And it was just like, I don't know a good feeling to describe, like, watching that, sure. And having it wash over you. So that kind of like sealed the deal as far as, feeling pretty good about building guitars. So Bill and I had, that Nels Cline experience. So having that experience with Nels, the big thing about that Jazzmaster was like the bridge is always the weakest link when it came to Jazzmasters. And at that point in time, nobody was really doing anything about it. The best thing you could do was shim up two ends of a Mustang set bridge. And that's what Nels was using at the time. And so he knew of a guy in Minneapolis named Woody. That was his buddy. That was kind of a Wilco tech guy. He had been a tech for a bunch of different bands, like Soul Asylum, all these 90s bands. And then he was also a repairman at Willie's Guitars in Minneapolis. And so he was a head repair guy there and did a lot of vintage work. And so he knew what was going on, and that he was actually developing what is now the Mastery Bridge at that point in time.
Nice.
And Nels was one of the guys that got some of the original prototypes to test out on the road. And so Nels was like, you have got to get in touch with this guy and talk to him because his bridges are amazing. And so I did, and Woody and I became quick friends, and, we immediately started using the Mastery Bridge stuff. And we were like one of the very first people outside of the testers to get some. And so, we just decided that early on that we weren't going to make any sort of offset guitar without that bridge, with that tremolo, without that bridge. So that part came into play. So it made the guitar as a guitar immensely more attractive from a playability standpoint. Mm-hmm. And so that felt really good. The effects seemed like, this is a way that, you don't have to use them. But they're right there, and it's super cool. So we, kept going, kept tweaking the design, kept tweaking the electronics. And, we eventually got to a point where we figured out that batteries are not going to cut it. And, nobody's going to want to change batteries in this thing. And especially when you're making a delay go crazy and, they just don't last. So, sure. So we ended up coming up with we had gone through a couple designs where we were actually making a power supply, like literally putting a transformer in a box, and how we would do it is we would send 9 volts through the ring portion of a tip ring sleeve cable, so that you would plug into the guitar with the tip ring sleeve cable and then into the power supply, and it would supply power to the effects via that line in the cable. And then we eventually just decided that we just create an enclosure with the right connections in it. We plug a 1 spot into it. It provides the same amount of power. We don't have to build this crazy power supply. So it was like that was one of the big things that made it way more practical for us to continue doing it. So we spent a couple of years, and we'd make 2 or 3 at a time. We started off. We did a run of 8. And we tried to capture as many kind of like the coolest Fender custom colors that we liked, so we did 2-tone burst, 3-tone burst, Olympic white, Sherwood green, Lake Placid blue, like Dakota red, just like tried to capture all those, vintage vibe color feels. And so we made this run of 8. We did some photo shoots of it. They featured us a little bit in there was this thing in Premier Guitar called the Modern Builder's Vault. And I remember that would have been the fall of 2009 when that came out. And, we had done a bunch of photo shoots with these 8 guitars, and, we got a bunch out to people, including Nels, and sold them off and got them to bands that we really liked. And then, once that Premier Guitar Modern Builder's Vault feature came out, I was kind of like sitting by the phone, tapping my fingers, waiting for it to ring. And it really didn't. But the other thing that we had to develop was like once pictures started getting around and getting out, and, people started talking about them on the forums and stuff, like, the vast majority of people, the response was like super positive, because I really felt like we were hitting something that people were looking for, or, maybe just starting to think that they were ready to start looking at, as far as like the offset design and what was going on with guitars in, the indie rock stuff and just popular music in general at the time. So I thought it was going to go nuts, but it did not, because it was just too much guitar with all the effects in it. Is too freaky for people. But there are a lot of adventurous dudes out there, and so we started off just kind of doing it on the side, and we'd have 3 orders at any given time for the first 6 months, and then it was like 5 on order, and then by like 2013 we were consistently back ordered like 25 guitars.
Wow.
So then we moved our facility into another suite in the building that we were in, and really started pumping them out. And that's when we were kind of doing a lot with Chicago Music Exchange, and we're picking up other dealers and just kind of, just blowing up a little bit. And then, that we've had to move our facility again in that period, from then to now. But it was a kind of a really good opportunity for us to really tighten up our production and, develop a lot of stations where we, can leave stuff set up and we don't have to do so much, tear down and set up to do certain jobs. So learning from taking all of that stuff from our experience. And then back in, I think it was 2012, we kind of simultaneously released the Zaftig model, which is our chambered out hollow body. It's a mashup of the Starcaster and Jazzmaster. And then also our El Hombre model, which was a Gibson scale pretty heavily based on a Aria Pro, which would have been a mid-60s Japanese. It was an offset, kind of double-horned, double
It's
cutaway.
pretty funky.
Oh, I love it. It's a great guitar. So we kind of simultaneously released those. We got a bunch of prototypes made up and sent them out. And so like Vintage Guitar and Guitar World and Guitar Player, they all did reviews on one or the other. And, Premier Guitar, they're actually based in Iowa. At least they were at that time. I'm pretty sure they're still around. But that was the print days. Mm-hmm. They've always been super kind to us. So from there, then things really started getting busy, because those were, well, especially the Zaftig. So the Zaftig and the Relevator. And then at that time, we also released what we started calling the Relevator LS, which is the same guitar sans effects. So, the LS is for less stuff. And so
Well, that also has standard Jazzmaster pickups in it, right?
Yes, it's basically as far as pickups go, because we the vast majority of our sales have always been direct to players, direct to customers. Mm-hmm. So we always, our philosophy was like, let's get customers what they want with regard to pickups or any sort of electronic situation, because number one, the pickups are going to be where the rubber meets the road as far as sound goes, and what people are going to be, what's going to get you the best sound. Now, there's all sorts of arguments to be made for everything else, but a huge percentage of what your guitar sounds like is going to be your pickups, period. So we always wanted to be as flexible as possible on that.
So it sounds like you've had some growth over the years. How many people are working at the shop now?
So it's Bill and I, and we kind of do the primarily do the operations. We kind of share general management duties, and then I tend to be the production manager. And so I have two guys. I got a head luthier. His name's Patrick. And then I got another dude, Justin, who's a luthier as well. And so that's my production crew. And between the three of us, we do all of the production. So
it's a good thing to point out to everybody out there, because when you're looking at Instagram and you're just like, whoa, guitar, and all these shots, and everybody's got them, and whatever it is, your pedals, amps, guitars. Most of the people that we talk to are in that same position where you just listed off an entire company of 4 people, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think
we do have one more person that's kind of part-time in the office, and it's absolutely necessary. Good God, I couldn't do anything without. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
5 people.
Your point being,
my point being is that you are making stellar instruments, and I don't think that people really grasp the size of some of these companies and the effort and the amount of work that not only goes into it's not like you're just building the guitar. You're doing everything else, and you're running these businesses, and you're corresponding, just kind of like we talked about earlier with the email run on. And I think it's just something that I think we all should just take pause and appreciate how much goes into these instruments that we want and that we hopefully pick up from builders like yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is. it is an endeavor that you have to have a passion for, because number one, it's not there. It isn't a high margin scenario. No, I don't think anything in this industry really is, so it's not get rich quick by any stretch of the imagination. So it has to be something that you care about. And we care deeply about, number one, the music, and number two, being able to provide the tools that make that music, and hopefully, being integral in making some of the best music, and like, it would be a dream if there was a type of music or a style of music that even 10, 20, 30 years down the road could not only be done with our guitars, but just like that was the iconic guitar to make this particular or a whole genre of music. That would be amazing to me. That would be the pinnacle of a satisfying legacy. But it's a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work, and it's a tremendous amount of heartache, and it's a huge amount of joy. When things go well, it is, you're on top of the world, as a small business owner, and just, dealing with not only customers, not only employees, but things like municipalities and fire departments, and, all of the things that you don't even think of, that all the hats you have to wear to be able to effectively and legally and all this, run your business so that if the fire department knocks on your door, your spray booth is legal and all your fire suppression stuff is up to code, and like,
oh boy.
Yeah, it's there's so many layers to this that if you got to be in it to win it, and just keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and trying to make the right moves and right choices, and and we feel like we really we hit the market at the right time for what people were really interested in, and we were lucky enough to be able to have the Relevator, which I kind of feel like is a flagship because it's so goofy. And, because it's so alienating to so many people, but also like endearing to others, like it gets people's attention. So we had the ability to get people's attention with something that, was kind of crazy. But at the same time, that allowed us to then eventually start introducing normal guitars, and being able to, to build up on that.
I really am appreciating what you're saying, and I think I just want to touch on a few things real quick. It is a good reminder that in the age of instant, where we expect everything, especially young builders or people that are thinking about this, we get a lot of mail, and we've featured some of these people on our shows where they're like, I've listened for a long time. I've heard these people's stories, and now I'm motivated, and I'm building pedals or amps or guitars, and it's amazing to hear that.
Sure.
And it's also really important. What you said was like putting one foot in front of the other, not expecting everything to happen all at once. Like it's a passion project. It takes time, so hang in there and keep doing it.
Yeah. This thing that we're doing, this business, this life, whatever, it's the funny thing is that eventually you discover that it's fluid, and that you never really arrive, you're never really done. So I think back to when we first started this, or when I first got the idea that I wanted to build guitars or wanted to be involved with this, because number one, I was a terrible performer, but I still love music. I love guitars, and I love players and bands and all of that stuff. And I always wanted to be involved. But if somebody would have told me from the impetus of the idea that I wanted to do this, or that I could do it, that all of the things that I would have to go through and all of the changes that you make, you're never the person that you are, from the moment of that idea to the time that you can actually stop, look back and say, oh, I actually executed the whole thing. It's, you go through so many changes. You have to tolerate so much stress and so much, craziness and chaos and things that are so far out of your control that you have to figure out how to just live with. So that's your little life lesson on small business ownership, guys.
Yeah, it stinks. I had a question, some specifics about the guitars. You talked a little bit like you like the mastery componentry and things like that. But
yes.
In terms of finishes and things like that, what are you a nitro guy or are you a poly guy?
Well, we started off as poly guys because number one, nitro is at the time when we were doing this, before we had really kind of honed in a lot of our materials and techniques and equipment, nitro was a big pain for me to apply because it was just a lot of coats and a lot of. Mm-hmm. And so I was really familiar from the repair side of things with a bunch of different automotive type finishes. And so, and then I was also really familiar with the UV cured polyesters that like Taylor was using because I was a big warranty repair guy for Taylor for the finishes. And so that gave me a big background on that stuff. So I had a UV lamp and I had all this equipment to do that. So that's what we started off shooting guitars with, was poly. Now, over the years, we've had people that absolutely insisted on nitro. And, when you're in this business, you don't dare turn down a sale. So over the years, I've had enough of that come around and just watching the market and figuring out a lot of different stuff. Our primary finish is nitro. And, we have a finish now, which is what we call our low gloss nitro, which is several coats directly onto the raw wood. So there's no polyester sealers. There's no sealers of any kind. We just start putting lacquer on it, and we get a build to our satisfaction, whether it's a solid color or transparent or a tinted or a burst or whatever. We get the color on, and then we clear coat over top of that with the lacquer. Now, it is not a polished finish, so it's not going to be wet sanded and buffed out, and that is our standard finish, and it's super thin. It's going to wear just like the old boys. It's just not polished out, so you do see a little of the wood grain, and a lot of people are just really loving on that finish. So that's our standard now is the nitro. Now, when you start asking for like the level satin finishes, that's a polyester sealer. So that adds, money to it. And then if you want a high gloss nitro or a high gloss poly, there's a significant upcharge for those finishes just because of the labor that's involved and the extra materials to achieve those finishes. So, we're finally to a point where we're able to kind of break those down so that we can do those right. But I'm a big believer in thin finishes, but I'm not a huge nitro versus poly versus, it's when you start getting into the extremes of thickness of coatings is when you start seeing, the real advantages and disadvantages. But when you're talking about, like thicknesses between those materials, they're so similar. It's so thin, or it's so minimal, has such a minimal effect on tone, when ultimately what you're really going for is stabilizing the material that it's covering, and so yeah, I guess we started off with poly, and I think we're one of the few people out there that was standard for what we did. And so that really allowed us to do a lot of the custom stuff and just some of the wackier things that we end up doing. And so we were able to develop like really thin poly finishes, and we're super proud of those. I'm still super proud of those. And then we're also super excited about the nitro stuff that we're doing now. And so that's kind of where we're at with finishing.
How about
anybody got any ideas?
Yeah, just leave them raw.
Stuff we should try.
Just a quick oil finish will be fine.
Yeah,
oil?
Little true oil. Yeah. In terms of the wood, I'm assuming you're using mostly maple for necks, and how about on bodies?
Bodies, actually, We procured an oven, and we are actually baking our own alder and maple right now.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And we are really loving it. Number one, those two woods work great because there's a high sugar content in them, and that sugar actually caramelizes. You're baking it. Frankly,
yummy.
That's all there is to it. It smells great, and but
Sweet.
that gives it that nice tone. It also has a drying effect, and there is a definite technique on bringing things up to temperature and acclimation and all of that stuff.
It's a recipe.
So it's a exactly, and so. We've been doing that for about 2 years now, and it's pretty fun. The oven is so big, we couldn't actually get it physically into the shop, so it lives in my garage. So what we do is on a lumber run, we get it, cut it up, and I take it home and start up the oven, and it's about a 36-hour process to do a load, and yeah, that's pretty fun. So that's our standard now. We just decided we really like it, and it just makes the wood looks really good, and it does have a stabilizing effect that kind of mimics aging to a little bit to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. But mostly it's the aesthetic of it and the stability of it. So. Yeah. So that's going to be primarily what we use. We do use rosewood standard on a lot of fingerboards. There's now this whole CITES thing, which we haven't quite got totally nailed down because we don't do a huge amount of overseas shipment, and the ones that we have done lately, they've all been super conscious of it, and we've been doing maple boards, and we can do like a darker roasted maple board that is not a perfect rosewood substitute, but definitely has the darker tone to it. I don't know. You guys remember when Gibson went all
that was disappointing.
And then there was the big revolt. I think had they rolled that out a little smarter, I think it's a wonderful alternative. Because aesthetically you can get a nice dark roast and it looks good, and it has all of the properties. Or retains all the properties, and it's a little more stable. And so I'm really sad that there's a lot of still ill will against baked maple.
Well, I think the biggest problem with that was it didn't sound like a Gibson instrument. I mean, and that's primarily because Gibson used maple on very few models. I mean, I own maybe 2 or 3 of the Gibsons that had the baked maple boards, and I don't have them anymore because I just never liked them. I mean, they just didn't sound right.
And I think it was to me, it was like the bluster of just saying, well, this is what they are now. There's no other alternative.
Yeah.
This is what the tuners are now. Guess what? They're robo tuners. It's just,
They handle a lot of
that's
things.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's the Where's Gibson podcast.
Yeah.
So Jared's had his hand up for a little bit. Jared.
Oh, you guys are raising hands over there?
We have to.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I can't see it.
So without revealing any certain sauce or, any secrets, where are you guys heading to in the future? Do you foresee anything new, or what's happening?
Yeah, we are. We're tweaking our line. We're getting ready to launch a new website here in probably about 40 to 60 days, which is going to allow people to do. We threw that website up in 2012 and haven't really touched it since. So anyway, that's going to be coming online, and we're going to be able to have listings of stuff that's going to be available now because we are building ahead a little bit. So we're going to have some stock pieces that we are finding, like goofy wood. We when we did our last move, we had to cut up a bunch of ceiling beams, and we saved that wood and made a bunch of Zaftigs and relevators out of it and stuff. And so there's going to be some kind of higher end stuff that we're inspired to make that we're throwing in with the regular orders. So we'll be able to list those. And then you'll also be able to make custom orders for all the models and make all of your selections. and place deposits at that point in time if you want to, or just start talking to us about that stuff. But and then, really trying to kind of bump up our web presence a lot. And like I was talking earlier, with trying to do demos with everything, and, just being out there a lot more so people can get so we can cast a little wider net and get more visibility out there. So that's happening in the immediate future. And then, we've got new models cooking, all the time.
Literally.
Yeah. Like
In his
literally.
garage right now.
Oh, I gotta go. Yeah, I forgot that was still on. Yeah, no.
Oh no!
Yeah,
What you cooking, Doc?
yeah. You always want to have the hose handy.
Well, one thing that I noticed going to several NAMM shows is there always seems to be a BilT guitar in a bunch of different booths. I don't know if artists are bringing them in or if you're providing them, but it's a really great way for people to see your products.
Good. That's not the first time I've heard that, but it is nice to hear that people are seeing them at there, because we do reach out. A lot of pedal companies or amp companies will reach out to us, or we'll reach out to them, and we do like friendly trades and stuff like that. Or we'll make a proposal to somebody. Hey, we want to get in. Can we have? Will you use this as a demo guitar? But like, Jamie Stillman from Earthquaker, like he bought a guitar from us way back, maybe like 2012, 2013, bought an LS that has been like one of the first guitars that ever made it through the doors at NAMM. And I think he still showcases that guy. And then earlier this year, we were kind of formulating the idea of maybe retiring the Relevator a little bit.
No, you cannot.
But what we thought would be a fun way to go would be to, get with some of the companies that we worked with in the past, like Earthquaker, JHS Pedals, Old Blood Noise. We did, and so what we did was we got with these companies and we asked them, what would you like to see of your stuff in one of our guitars? So we made Josh at JHS. We had like 5 different effects in there.
Wow.
And we kept our regular format, and he likes this white with red appointment design. So we did a Relevator for him, his components in there, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then Jamie at Earthquaker, he asked for a 12-string, kind of red and white guitar, and that sucker came out great. And what did we put in there? You're gonna have to forgive me, because like once I get done wiring these things, I have to like purge my brain.
Quite all right.
I know somebody a pickup guy who's going to have a booth space at NAMM.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he raising his hand?
That's me.
At Brandon Wild?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh.
It's actually around the corner. So
Yeah. Well,
It's Summer NAMM?
Summer NAMM.
Yep.
Okay.
You guys.
You mean the reasonable one?
Yeah. So
anyway, and then for Old Blood, we made there again. I can't remember what the pedal names are, but man, that one came out cool. It was black on black, and we did this anodized black pick guard that was the whole pick guard. So there's no external or individual plates. So it was like the tremolo and everything mounted on there. If you haven't seen it on their website, you should go check it out. But that thing was like insane. And so we do that, and we tried really hard, and we got them all out there to NAMM, and with NAMM, it's always like this last minute push to get stuff out there. And so Bill was going to be traveling out there. And so we pushed really hard to get these guitars shipped out so that they could be available, to these guys for NAMM. And the only major flub was, we got in touch with Earthquake, and we were like, so what did everybody think? He's like, well, it wasn't as usable as we wanted it to be, because you forgot to put strap buttons on it. And we were like, oh my God. So that's been the big joke around the shop is like, does it have strap buttons? And no, I mean, because literally, like, you're putting the thing together, and when it comes to a 12-string, and when it has effects in it, and you're taking the thing apart and putting it back together, a billion times, like, everybody gets to a point where they're so fried and crispy, dealing with an individual guitar like that I'm sympathetic. I'm laughing it off. I don't, it's not the worst thing in the world to have had happen, but it's since been rectified. So
Yeah. I am really grateful that you have shared so much with us. It was great listening to your backstory and just talking about cool guitar stuff with you, and learning a lot more about BilT Guitars. So thank you so much for that. And we're going to jettison. We're gonna jettison from this and to our adjacent pal over here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Would You Rather. This week's Would You Rather is brought to you by Joseph Halliday of Hello Sailor Pedals.
Hello, sailor.
He's from the UK. He's a little builder out there. I mean, he's not little. I don't know how big he is, but
Are you saying he's a dwarf?
He's a smaller manufacturer out in the UK, and he's going to be on the show pretty soon. He makes some really cool stuff. So check out Hello Sailor.
And check out his Would You
We'll
Rather.
find out how
now.
little he really is.
That's right.
Okay.
So, would you rather? You're going to play a private gig to a few dinner guests at a billionaire's mansion using your choice of the best guitar and amp combination in the world. Or would you rather play on a stage with your choice of the best live act in the world in front of a stadium with a Squier Affinity Strat that's got horribly high action and grubby strings?
And she's greater frets.
That's right. And you're playing through a Roland Microcube.
Microcube.
That's mic'd up, of course.
Well, of course.
Oh
you gonna
boy, this is actually
Who's going to be at the billionaire's party?
A billionaire guy.
And his
Or a lady.
guests?
It could be a lady. I don't know.
Will there be guests there?
Yes, there are. You said that.
Okay.
There's guests.
There's guests.
But there's, maybe probably not a ton. But anyways, Tony, why don't you go first?
I'm going to go with the Billionaires Club.
Yes.
The party. Because one, that's the people I hang with.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, Natch. I'm businessman like myself, for
Right.
instance. And I think the shrimp cocktails are going to be better.
Yeah.
Filet mignon.
I think they're going to have some really nice bourbon.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a nice guitar, the best guitar amp combo in the world.
Right.
And I'm doing it. That's where I'm going. You guys can have the rusty strings in the Microcube.
Okay. Jared?
Nah, I'm also going to go with the good old billionaire person. Definitely. Because I want the nice equipment, the nice amp. And I personally don't care who I play in front of. I'm going to do my best with the best equipment, and it's going to sound good, and I'm going to feel good about what I did.
Okay. And Tim, how about yourself?
Neither. They both sound like nightmares.
You have to do one
You
of
have
them.
to
Yeah.
choose
pick
one.
one.
That's the rules.
I would rather be buried alive.
That's even worse
Well,
than
that's
both
an
of them.
option.
Yeah.
Since it's worse than the two, we'll give it to you.
No, for the more workmanly option of the painful stuff, because that seems to be what I'm used to.
That's fair. I am taking the big stage, baby. I want the stage. I want the big stage.
Good
I
for
want
you.
the people. I want the noise. I want to rock the crap out of that thing. I
Yeah.
will make myself bleed and break the strings. It'll be amazing.
They're going to
and
associate
then I
you.
will punt the amp when I'm done.
They're going to associate you with the Strat from now on. Then
No, because I'll
It's an-
smash it and then
it's a-
punt. I will actually golf swing the
cube.
Microcube off the stage
With
and
the
then
Strat.
smash the guitar. That's what I'm doing.
Is this going to be like a point in the future when like the billionaires are all genetically enhanced? Like it's the new master race? Is it going to be a group of them, or is it?
I
Going to
hope
be,
not. That sounds dreadful.
Is it going to be like modern day billionaires where they're,
right?
Wear saggy tennis shorts.
Right.
yeah?
I don't know.
Is it going to be?
It all
Are they going to be
sounds
the new
dreadful.
species yet? That's what I'm.
New World
wondering.
Order, baby. New World Order is coming.
I don't want any of that. All right, gentlemen, we've got a few people to thank real quick.
So at this point in the show, we like to thank a special group of people. Not billionaires, but they're nice people.
or not orangutans.
They might be
either.
billionaires. I don't know. They help us out a lot because what they do is they help sponsor the podcast.
That's right.
And there's various levels you can participate in. Go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. You'll see all the cool stuff that you can get for being a relatively non-expensive level, all the way to a slightly more expensive, but the great prize packages that you receive just will astound you. Mm-hmm. In addition, what happens, Jared?
Oh, like right now, you get to have your name read on the thing.
And that's what I'm going to do right now. So, let's go from oldest to newest, shall we?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's thank our good friend Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Sean Chris Kearney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Brad Partridge, Corey Nigro, Ken Sayers, Jonathan Jerusik, Brian Robinson, Michael Senchuk, Michael McVeigh, Rick Lenglou, Stefan Lam, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lanthrop, John Englund, Tyler Bray, Tig Harmon, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Tim Novak, not Novak, but Nowak, and our newly upgraded friend and executive producer, Doug Gann.
All right.
Thank you, each and every one of you. And thank you for our regular Patreon sponsors, too.
Yes. Thank you guys so very much. You help our show out every week, and we are truly, truly grateful for you. Tony, let's ask Tim where he's...
Tim, where can people get a hold of you to order their BilT guitar?
Actually, why don't you guys just tell people to go to BilTGuitars.com and there's a message box and leave us a message. That's the vast majority of how we've had a lot of people contact us. So, cool. And then I will follow up and we will make you amazing guitars. Killer. And we'll be really excited about it. And you'll be really excited about it because you're going to be really excited that you're going to get this guitar that you've always wanted.
And can they find you also on the Instagram or the Facebook?
And our Instagram is super fun, and you can DM us there, and we'll allow your request.
Nice.
We'll consider it for real.
That's how it works.
Tony, how about yourself?
Let's say you need a custom pick guard, or you want to replace a guard, or you want to change pickups, or there's any number of things. Mm-hmm. You got an anniversary coming up. You want to put a "I love you, my dear"
guitar.
That's a good one. I'm going to do that. Go to pickguardian.com. You can shoot me an email off the site. You can go over to Instagram. I post a lot of things, projects and things that I'm working on there. And
if you can't find them for whatever reason, just hit me up, for Pete's sake.
Get a hold of Todd. Go to the Guitar Knobs website. There's links everywhere.
Yes, or on Instagram. All right, Jared.
If you need a new pickup or new old-looking pickup to match your old guitar or anything of the sort, go to BrandonWildPickups.com. Drop me an email.
All the things. So if you need pickups, because you make pickups.
Yeah, or if you need...
You make a lot of custom and weird and funky and interesting pickups.
A lot of that stuff,
You always downplay
some really
that.
cool stuff that I make doesn't make the website because, I'd rather
like
be building
P90s
stuff.
in a jazz
case. All the awesome stuff like that. Or wide range in the...
wide ranges.
Yeah, in the Jazzmaster casing.
Yeah.
I understand you're going to be at the Summer NAMM show. Is that right?
I am. That's right.
That is true. That's
So
crazy.
if you can't get a hold of them via email or on the website, go to the NAMM show.
Yeah.
And you'll also see Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
I'll be there too.
But I won't. Sorry. You can get a hold of me, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Shoot me a note. Love to hear from you. We also would love to hear your would you rathers. Please send those to us. We have a good time when we get to read them. You can DM me, direct message on Instagram, and please subscribe to our little feed. It's super fun. And we really want to just give a big giant thanks to Tim from BilT Guitars for joining us tonight. We have had a blast talking to you.
Hey, super fun. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Nice to meet you. And let's talk pickups and pick cards one of these days.
We'll do that.
Definitely.
All right.
Everybody have a great guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
You could probably have somebody make leather ends for that, but
Whoa. Sorry, guys.
He hasn't hung up yet. He's the first one. He's lasted this long. Record holder. Do they have leather ends?
Every single beer they open explodes here. How is this possible? I'm like a dad in here.
you're gonna play a private gig to a few dinner desk.
Oh my!
Take two.
This will be 3.
A paper towel.
That's gonna stink in here so bad.
You guys have beer?
Crybaby.
You do not have 5 children.
I've got 3 girls and 2 grown men. Jared, you're gonna need more than that little tiny paper towel there, buddy.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.